Rosh Chodesh, we have to read the Haftorah for Pashat Shkolim. It deals with something with the shekels in the first holy temple. Yeah. All right. So if you have the Art Scroll, page
And we
12.
sing Hallel, right?
Yes, we're saying Hallel Friday and
Shabbos.
And Shabbos. It's a half Hallel. You skip a few paragraphs. Okay. Oh yeah, let me see if you remember that I mentioned. Notice we don't say Hallel on Purim. Why don't we say Hallel on Purim?
Because it's not a holiday from the Torah.
Do we say Hallel on Chanukah?
Yeah.
Why don't we say it on Purim? In fact, the Gemara asked that question. Why don't we say Hallel on Purim?
That's the same question as the Gemara.
What?
Okay.
It's a simple question. So they answer that. Oh yeah, they said the Megillah Esther. This Megillah takes the place of the Hallel. What do they mean by that? The Megillah Esther that we read on Purim takes the place of Hallel. Why would it take the place? You see, well, they say because the story of the Megillah, if you look closely and analyze it, you will see God is behind the scenes. You know, God's name does not appear. He's behind the scenes, and because of him, the miracle happened. That finally, Haman was hanged. In fact, Haman was really hanged on Passover. You know that? I mentioned that one time. He was hanged on Passover, and then until they got all the word to all the people that what Haman sent out to annihilate all the Jews in Adar, it took a long time, and the Jews were allowed to defend themselves if they did want to kill them. Okay, so
why couldn't you do both?
Do what? What do you mean do both? Do both? What do you mean?
Sing Hallel and read the Megillah.
Well, maybe it was unnecessary. The Megillah is Hallel, the Gemara is saying. You have to say two Hallels on the same day? Yeah. Okay, that's what they answer. All right. So if you have let's start the Megillah Esther. If you have your art scroll, it's 1252. Or else usually it's in the backup. You have a Hertz Chumash?
Yeah, I have Yeah, I found it. I have it.
Okay, the Hertz Chumash has it in the back also.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says the following. It was in the days of Achashverosh, a basic principle. I think I mentioned it. Whenever you see the words Vayihi Bimei, what does that introduce? Something difficult is going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. Where else do you find in the Chumash? We have in. Where do you find? And it was in the days of, and it means something bad is going to happen. Okay.
In Shoftim.
Shoftim.
Didn't they say that a few times?
There is a place. Well, it was during the time of the Shoftim. If you have the Megillah Ruth in your Chumash, the Megillah of Ruth. If you let me see, where does it start? Oh yeah. It's in page 1269. If you have the art scroll.
Yeah.
If you notice, the book of Ruth, the first two words are the same thing. It wasn't the days of. No, what bad thing happened with Ruth? In the story of Ruth.
Naomi's family left and everybody died.
Yeah, but why? What happened at that time? They had to leave
There
Israel?
was a famine in the land.
Correct. Okay, it was a bad thing. By he made in Esther, eventually Haman planned to annihilate us. And in the Chumash, in the time of Abraham, there's a verse that says, "By he be made," as was during the days. What does that refer to? Okay, I'll get it. You have the. Let me get it in Pashas Lech Lecha.
In the days of Abraham?
No, it doesn't say the days of Abraham, but it happened during his lifetime. If you have the art scroll, it's on page 60, chapter 14:1, or the Genesis chapter 14, verse 1.
The War of the Kings.
Right, that was the first recorded war between 4 and 5 kings. And what does it start? What does it say? Chapter 14, verse 1. I'm Raphael Melachshin. It was in the days of, in the midst missing the kings, and it's the first recorded war in the Torah. So whenever there's also another place that looks where it says by he be made, whenever it says that it was in the days of, it means bad things are going to happen. But by the way, according to some, getting back to the Chumash, where it says by he be made Amrafel. Some say Amrafel was Hammurabi. I don't know. That's what they say. I don't know if it really is true, but that's what they claim, that he lived in the time of Abraham. Okay, let's get back to the Megillah Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Excuse me. But he be made Achashverosh. It was in the days of Achashverosh. Who Achashverosh? He is Achashverosh. Why do they have to say it again? Didn't they just tell us in the days of Achashverosh? Because he is Achashverosh. Hamelach Mahodu at Kush. He ruled from, Hodu usually referred to as India, and Kush is usually translated as Ethiopia. That's what we think it is. Sheba, Yasrim, and Malmedinar, 127 provinces. There were satraps in Persia, they call it the satraps. Okay, so why does it say it again? It says, and it was in the days of Achashverosh. Then it says, he's Achashverosh. I know it. You just told me it's in the days of Achashverosh. Why is his name repeated a second time? Okay. So the reason for it, and Rashi says it brings it down also. Hu berish o mitchila so biat sofo. You know, Achashverosh was no good from the beginning to the end. That's this is Achashverosh. This Achashverosh was no good from the beginning to the end, because he was easily manipulated. If you remember, with Haman wanted to annihilate the Jews. He said, okay. He didn't really care. And then he changes his mind. But it seems, you see through that he had no problems agreeing with Haman initially anyway.
Right. Well, why is it, if he was so horrible, why did they repeat his name twice?
No, to tell you, this is that Achashverosh from the beginning to the end. He was evil from the beginning to the end. That's what it means.
Oh, that he ruled from the beginning to the end?
Yeah, he was no good. He was no good. He was an evil guy from the beginning to the end. Not as bad as Haman, but originally he agreed with Haman. You remember? He did. He gave him, go ahead, do what you want, he said.
Right. So is it that he was evil, or that he reigned from the beginning to the end?
Well, he did evil things. It wasn't, I'm not saying he was an evil guy. Every single thing he did was wrong, but certainly he was. What you see in chapter 3, when Haman presents his plan, he doesn't ask any questions. He says, Haman, Haman says, there's certain people we don't need. He said, okay.
He was drunk.
Yeah, some say he was a shrewd guy, though, So, because right after that, when he found out that it was Esther's people, then he didn't want that. Then he overruled it, And
he sent this nice Jewish girl to live with such a bum?
Good question. Everyone asks that question. So this was an exception to the rule, that since she was, obviously she didn't want to do it. She was forced to become his wife. And Mordecai, it seems like the court at that time, the Beit Din at that time said she can't do it, because the way the history unfolded, it was like God's plan that she should be in the palace Achashverosh at that particular time, because when he found out that it's his wife's people that Haman wanted to destroy, he said he will not permit that, and Haman was hanged, and the plan was stopped. Plot was stopped. So it was like under divine supervision that she should be there. That's what they say.
There was an interpretation that Mordecai is not a Jewish name. It comes from Marduk.
Marduk, yeah.
Yeah, which was Persian, who was a god.
Right, that's correct.
A Persian god.
Yeah. Well, he had a Hebrew name, Bilshan.
What was his name?
I think it's Bilshan or Balshan. I think it's Bilshan. Something's recorded that his Hebrew name was Bilshan. But it was, like we have our English names and we have our Hebrew names. So something in Persia also, that he had a Hebrew name, but they called him Mordecai. Yeah. Okay. So that's why it says he is Achashverosh. He was really not good from the beginning to the end.
But in the end, it was okay.
Well, that was only because of his queen.
Right.
Assuming that Esther was not there, most probably he would go along with Haman all the way. He was just furious when he heard that it's his king, his queens, his wives, people. He didn't know.
But he gets
'Cause-
credit for listening to her.
Well, we got to give him credit. Okay, so that's partially good.
Okay, it didn't work out so well for poor
He was
Vashti.
evil. He was not a very good person from the beginning to the end. He did a lot of wrong things. Yeah, yeah. But I think I mentioned to you, Esther had a child by him.
Yeah,
know that?
Darius. Cyrus or Darius?
Darius.
Yeah.
Darius, we call him in Hebrew. And that's why they say that under Darius, Darius's rule, he permitted the Jews to complete the building of the second holy temple. Because you have to realize that, at this time also, there's another place which he wasn't too good at, Ahasuerus. When he became the king, he stopped the building of the Beit HaMikdash in the process of building the second holy temple. He stopped it. When his son, Darius, became the king, after Ahasuerus died, he was sympathetic to the Jews. And he went ahead and he permitted them to complete the holy temple. And most probably because he knew that Esther had a Jewish mother.
So was he raised as a Jew?
I assume so. I don't know. I'm not sure. Don't forget he had I don't know. But you see, he was sympathetic anyway for the Jews. Whether he observed the Torah, I don't think so. But I'm not. I don't know for certain. Maybe some things he did, but we think he was sympathetic because his mother, because of Esther, because she was a Jewess. Some people don't realize that Ahasuerus had a son with her. I mean, Esther had a son with Ahasuerus. Okay. Now, it says that in the verse 1, it says Hamolech mehodu v'ad Kush. Usually it's translated or rules from Hodu. They say it means India. Here in the art scrolls, they don't translate, they don't say what country it is, but usually it's refers to India. Now, if you look at what Hodu, notice in the letter Dalet, there's a dot in the letter Dalet. And many times, whenever you see a dot, it means it's missing a letter. Some want to suggest that there is a nun, and a lot of times the nun falls off. And if it would be a nun, it would be Hindu. That's why the translations say it means India, or that area where the Hindus were around. But okay, that's what some want to say. Kush is usually translated as Ethiopia. It was a vast empire. I think area-wise, it's larger than the United States area, even including Alaska. It's huge. Just think about it. Just look at a map from India all the way to Ethiopia, includes Israel and all the Middle East areas. It was a vast empire. Okay, so now, and how many states did it have? 127 states or provinces. The Persians usually refer to, in the historians call it the satraps. That's what they call their states. Okay. Verse 2. Vayimim was those days. Tisheves Hamelech Achashverosh al Kisei Malchuso. King Achashverosh sat on his throne. Asher b'Shushan Abiroa, in Shushan, the capital city. Okay. Now, and I think I mentioned many times that Achashverosh did not come from royalty.
Right.
He just went up the ranks. What was he in the time of, let's say, Nebuchadnezzar? He was there on the.
He took care of the donkeys or something.
Well, no, he was a stable boy.
Was a stable boy, right?
Took care of the horses, whatever it was. But we'll get to that later. But it was very important. So he went up the ranks, and finally he was able to become the king. Okay. Okay. Then it says, verse 3. 3 years. He was a king for already 3 years. Then he made a party. Now, for all its, I suppose, diplomats and the servants, the nobles, the officials of Persia and Madai, Media, I suppose. Hapratamim, these are just exactly the translation. We don't know. The nobles, it means the aristocrats. The Soreha Medinos Stefanov. Okay, he made a big party. Why did he wait 3 years? He's been king. You would think when he was crowned as king, he would make a big party then. Why did it take 3 years before he's now making a big party?
He was waiting for the completion of the 70 years.
Oh, you mean with the?
Yeah.
That could be. That's no. But they were already returning. It was before.
Yeah.
What's his name? Cyrus.
Uh-huh.
Cyrus let the people return. And they started to build the holy temples. I think the 70 years were up then.
Okay.
But I remember. According to some, there was always this. About 70 years. I think after they were exiled under Nebuchadnezzar, there was a tradition that they knew 70 years they'll be able to come back to Israel. But the problem was, how do you go ahead and calculate 70 years from what period of time? Nebuchadnezzar exiled the Jews from Israel on 3 different occasions. So from which time do you count the 70 years? That was the problem. Jeremiah said it'll be 70 years. That's another reason why in the 3rd year, Achashverosh made the party, like you mentioned, because according to his calculations, it was the 70 years were up, and the Jews are not that back. They're not all there. And that's why he stopped the building of the Holy Temple. 70 years are up. Nothing happened. Okay. That's another reason why he's making this party, because he's very happy that according to the Jews' tradition, it was supposed to come back and everything be a peace in Israel. And it's not so. At least at that time. It wasn't so. And at that time also, Achashverosh controlled Israel. You learn the book of Ezra, you see that also with that whole period of time. It wasn't easy. Okay, others. Let me just see. So he said on the third year he makes his party.
So was this a punishment? Was Purim a punishment because not all the Jews returned?
Punishment for Israel, you mean? Because they didn't return?
With everyone else.
I didn't see that. But maybe, I don't know. It's a thought. Because you're right, not to. In fact, very few Levium returned. In the book of Ezra, we find that Ezra himself, what he returned from the exiles into Israel, he noticed very few Levium came back. He was really upset about that. There was a lot of problems during that when they started to remember. It was before Ahasuerus. It was King Cyrus. Cyrus had the edict of Cyrus, who permitted the Jews to return to Israel. Whoever wanted to, but not that many returned. Compared, most stayed in at that time Babylon. Okay, so that was the problem also. Yeah. But anyway, that could be one reason why in the 3rd year he makes a part, because according to his Achashverosh's calculation, the Jews should have been all back. They should have established the 2nd Commonwealth of Israel. The whole Beit HaMikdash should have been built, and it's not happening. It's happening because of that. Others want to say he knew. In some ways, they must have had the picture of the original throne that Shlomo HaMelech made. It says that, and it took 3 years for the carpenters of Persia to make that type of a throne. It was a very elaborate throne, had animals on the side, and it was a very beautiful throne that it seems like they knew the plans of the throne, and Achashverosh wanted that type of throne. That's what it says. All right, let's see what happens over here. Oh, and the next few verses just tells us that it was a very elaborate party. If you look in verse 4, you'll see it says this party lasted 180 days. Half a year. Now that was very common among the Persian Empire. In the Persian Empire, their leaders, the kings, would make these elaborate parties for months. So it's very possible that it lasted so many days, 180 days. Okay. So that originally was a party for all his dignitaries and diplomats and so on. And then, let's verse 5. These days were completed. And the king makes an elaborate party for everybody, all the people that are found in the city of Shushan, the capital city, from old to young. A party now is going to last 7 days. And the people were invited to be in his courtyards and also gardens, wherever he had a botanical garden there. And they're all over. Okay. Now, if you look at that next verse, it's talking about all the curtains and so on, and the decorations and the elaborate furniture that the palace had. Nobody knows by the word chur, the first letter of verse 6.
Haman.
What?
Is large for Haman?
No, but Haman is A, not a chet. You notice that it's a bold chet?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, going back to what I said, Achashverosh saw the 70 years were up. The Beit HaMikdash is not completed. It seems like he inherited also the vestments from the high priest, from the Nebuchadnezzar. They still had it. And so during this party, he wanted to show, well, that's the end of that holy temple. And he had the vestments of the Kohen Gadol, and the Kohen Gadol wore 8 vestments. Chet has a numerical value of 8. So he wanted to show. So there was where he was, like he was a Russian. He was a wicked in that sense too. He was rejoicing. He is rejoicing that the holy temple is not going to be rebuilt according to his understanding. So he had the vestments of the Kohen Gadol, of the high priest, and he wore these vestments to show. You see, I'm just it's not going to be any more a high priest. Now, that's why according to some, that's why the chet is enlarged. 8 garments. So, he was showing that he was ridiculing the fact that the holy temple is not being built. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. And not only that, he wanted to please everybody. And drinks were on the house, anything he wanted. Oh, by the way, also,
he used all the utensils.
Yeah, if you go to the verse 7, that's right. We have a special chant when we recite the Book of Lamentations. On Tisha B'Av. The chant for the Megillah is very lively, it's very happy. But when it comes to this verse, and when I get to that, he allowed various utensils. And the reason why you chant it in the way that you would chant the Book of Lamentations, because the utensils, or many of those utensils that Achashverosh used, came from the Holy Temple. Like I said, he was rejoicing. What are the garments of the high priest? He's now using the utensil of the Holy Temple. Yeah. And another thing that it doesn't say here, but our sages say that many Jews attended this party. Yeah, that was a problem. They knew this. It was a known fact what Achashverosh was believing, what he believed in. So really, they shouldn't have gone. They shouldn't have gone to the palace and rejoiced with him. So, and also many of those Jews did not eat kosher. So, and that perhaps brought about the idea of Haman. Initially, Haman's plan was acceptable by Achashverosh, because the Jews had sinned like that and ate from the non-kosher food, and that's another reason why we have shlach manot. What is shlach manot? We send shlach manot on Purim.
On Purim. So
What
they
is
would eat
Lachmano?
kosher food. So you could eat kosher food.
Yeah, it's a food gift. We
Right.
send our friends to make up for the wrongdoing of our people who ate non-kosher food in Achashverosh's palace during this time. Okay, yeah. Okay, now. Okay, let's go. And then,
Well, why would it bother Haman that the Jews were eating treif?
that didn't bother him. He didn't like Jews at all.
Uh-huh.
He just wanted to destroy them.
Uh-huh.
Something, but no, it don't have to have a reason. He wanted a Jew-free, something like Hitler, a Jew-free country. Didn't like Jews.
Like America.
Well, some people don't like us either.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's so where are we? Oh yeah. Now it was the seventh day. Remember, it was the 7 days for everybody, and he got a little high. If you go down to verse 11, what did he want? Lohavi es Vashti Amalka ifnei Hamelech b'chesed malchus. He wanted Vashti, the queen, to come before him with her crown. Rose. Now some say, now this is a midrash, doesn't, some say that's all he wanted her to wear, the crown. It had to be naked. It had to be in a birthday suit. Because look what it says, so that Vashti, to bring Vashti the queen with the crown. Some interpret only the crown. That everybody, all the people present, can go ahead and view her beauty. She was a very beautiful woman. Now, and now look what the next verse says. But Queen Vashti refuses to go to listen to the king. Now, you notice on verse 11, when Achashverosh issues his command, he says, "Bring Vashti the queen," right? And when Vashti refuses, on verse 12, it says Queen Vashti refuses. Notice that? And verse 11, it says Vashti the queen, bring her before me. And it says, and Queen Vashti refuses. Why does it change? What's going on over here? Achashverosh commanded Vashti the queen to come. And when she replied to him, it says Queen Vashti refused. So the rabbis read into this, a very important message. When Achashverosh went ahead and told his officers, bring Vashti the queen, what do you mean by that? Should you normally say, bring Queen Vashti? And he calls her Vashti the queen. And when she refuses, she says, I'm Queen Vashti. So what happened? What's going on over here? So again, our commentators pick up on this. When Achashverosh asked to have his wife come before him, he's trying to say, Vashti, because I'm the king, that's why she's the queen. But if you remember, I mentioned before, Achashverosh was not royalty. His father was not the king of Persia. He just went up the ranks and became the king. When Vashti heard the command that he called Vashti the queen, he says, what are you talking about? I'm Queen Vashti. I don't do those type of things. And I have royalty. You were a mere stable boy, but I have royalty because my grandfather was King Nebuchadnezzar. So that's why she says, the Queen Vashti refuses. I have royalty, not you. And that embarrassed him in front of all the people. He's being embarrassed that Vashti's refusing. That's one thing. And she's trying to show him, or maybe she said she told him, you were just a stable boy when my grandfather was king. So he was infuriated by that. And that's why after she refused, in the verse 12 says, he was very angry. King Achashverosh, he was burning with anger. Now you can understand why he was upset. Because he was embarrassed in front of all of his people. Here he's commanding Vashti, the queen, what he called Vashti, the queen, to come before him. And she's refusing. She calls him a stable boy. And she claims, I'm royalty. So he was made him so angry. And she didn't listen to what he said. Okay, so that's why the next verse he's going to ask his advisors, what do I do with Vashti? She's rebellious, my rebellious queen. Look what he says. So 13, he has all the head offices, and look at 15, he gathers his leadership together, and he presents them the problem. What do I do with her, with Queen Vashti? So maybe she's saying, see, she calls herself Queen Vashti. I'm the king. Okay. She didn't listen to my command that I asked her to come before us. And what do we do in such a case? In such a case, what do we do with a rebellious queen? That was his problem. Okay. Verse 16. I'm sorry, Vayomer Memuchan, and Memuchan said, oh, who is Memuchan? Memuchan was told by our sages, this is Haman. And Memuchan, the reason why Haman is called Memuchan, because Muchan means designated or set, designated eventually to be hanged. But really, it was Haman. Okay. So Vayom Memuchan and Memuchan said before the king, Basurim, and the officers, it's not only when Vashti did this thing, it's not just a rebellious act against the king, but people are going to learn from it. The ladies will learn how to rebel against their husbands. Because it's going to be a rebellion against all our offices throughout the country of King Ahasuerus. So the word's going to get around. Verse 17, all the women will hear what the queen Vashti did. She went against the ruling of King Ahasuerus. They'll say, look, the queen could go ahead and embarrass publicly her husband, the king of Persia. The women are going to do the same to their husbands. They all said, look what she did. She did not adhere to the command of her husband, King Ahasuerus. Okay, so Memuchan suggested that it's no good. You have to go ahead and punish Vashti because we don't want the entire country. When I find out about it, that all the wives will rebel against their husbands. So therefore, let's say, let me go. Okay, so that's what we should have this particular ruling, and it'll show, listen, that the women should not rebel against their husbands. Okay, we have verse 21. Let's go to verse 21. This was a great plan. I like what Memuchan said. Great idea. And he said, yeah. And the king did what Memuchan suggested. We have to prevent this from happening. And it doesn't say what happens to Vashti. It doesn't say. What the heck? Because all it's going to say is that, well, let's see what it says now. It says the following, verse 22. Chapter ends off. And he sent letters out to all his kingdom, Ahasuerus' kingdom. Every province according to the script. There's such a big country there. Everybody had a different script. And every various parts of the country spoke different languages. So they put the letter in whatever language they spoke. And in the letter, basically, it was saying the following: so all men must rule their house. Not only that, And the language that he speaks, the wife has to speak his language. That's what the decree. So this is what Achashverosh did, and this was the verdict. Now again, let's get back. Let's get back to Vashti. It doesn't say what happened to Vashti. See, she was rebellious, and Memucham was saying, well, you better send a letter out that that a wife must listen to her husband and speak his language and so on. Well, what happened to Vashti? Doesn't say what happened to Vashti. What do you think? Anybody know what happened to Vashti?
She was beheaded.
Yes, some say she was beheaded. Some say she was not beheaded. She was just removed from being the queen, and she was banished from the kingdom.
They made her a maid.
Whatever. Yeah.
They degraded her because she was haughty.
Exactly. Well, or some say she was killed. We don't know. It doesn't say. Interesting. It doesn't say what happened to her. Yeah. But as we get to chapter 2, we see Achashverosh regretted it because, she was we're told she was a very beautiful woman, and he thought maybe he acted too swiftly. Yeah.
You're saying he regretted getting rid of her?
Yeah. Look what it says. Look what it says in chapter 2.
He remembered Vashti.
After this incident, after he calmed down, he was very angry. It took a few days, maybe he was upset, but then he regretted it. So Vashti, he remembers Vashti and everything that she did, and he really, she was a wonderful wife. Other than that particular incident, and then he remembered what he decreed. He had second thoughts. He said, "I made a mistake." Well, it doesn't say it exactly. That's what it meant. After several days, after this issue that happened to Vashti, he said, he felt badly. He remembers Vashti, and so his officers see that he really feels bad, and now they're going to go suggest to him, well, look, King, I think it's time for you to look for another wife, and
maybe he wasn't evil. He was just imperious and not inconsiderate.
Yeah, and also
not very smart.
He had a changeable mind.
Yeah, it was like depending who was the last one to talk to him.
Yeah. In fact, the Gemara says when they spoke about King Achashverosh, they said Melech Tipeshu. Tipeshu means a fool. Achashverosh is a foolish king. Yeah. Okay, so now they're going to try to get a new wife for Vashti in verse 2. After they saw Achashverosh was really regretted what he did to Vashti. So the young men took care of the king, said to him, you have to ask now, the king should go ahead and require that all young ladies, virgins, should good-looking women should come to the palace. So the king should go ahead and appoint officers to go to the entire kingdom, throughout the kingdom. Sue as called Narab, get all the young ladies, the virgins, the beautiful women to Shushan Abirah, based on Hashim, and they'll be housed in a special, special area that was the house where the women could stay. El Yad this Hamelach Shemer Hashim, and it'll be under the rule of this person Hege, and he'd guard, he'd be like the officer over the women. And he'll be involved in giving all the perfumes and all whatever the desire these women need to look beautiful. And Len Buffalo here. And Nara Sheti Tabi and Melech, and that young lady who will be put in the eyes of the king, will rule in place of Vashti. And king like that. And they did so. It was good in the eyes of the king, and everything. He liked what they suggested, and so it was done to gather all the beautiful young ladies to the city, to the capital city of Shushan, and he'll choose one of them to be his queen. Okay, up here now. Okay, so we'll meet again in Yetz Hashem Thursday. This Thursday at what time?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. That's good. And any questions? Oh, okay. So we, God willing, and I suppose we'll continue maybe the Megillah. Okay.
Okay. Did you
Okay,
get the second shot, Rabbi?
Yes.
How do you feel?
Okay. I didn't have any reaction. No. Both of us got it. Did you get it already? The 2 shots?
No, but
You
I
got
know
one.
I got one.
Yeah.
I know some people that got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say it's a little.
I know.
Yeah.
One doctor told me that before you take the second shot, you should take 1 Tylenol. That's what he said. Before you take that, might be helpful because yes, it seems like there are more people getting reactions to the second shot than to the first shot.
I felt
Yeah.
tired.
You felt tired. I felt a little tired. Yeah. Yeah.
No
I took
fever.
No,
yeah.
just felt extra tired.
Yeah.
The arm still hurts me though.
Yeah.
My arm still hurts from the one 3 weeks ago. I still have a black and blue
Really?
mark.
You
3
do?
weeks later.
Wow. Yeah.
But I'm happy I got it.
Yeah. One of my doctors told me from the synagogue, which I did, he said, take 1 Tylenol before you take your second shot. I think it should be okay. And it was okay. I didn't have any reaction.
Thank God.
No. That's what he told me. All right. So I'll see him
Thank you, dear